In this video, we're talking about pain and specifically how to tell the difference between two types of pain and what each of them actually means for you. When you notice pain, you're listening to your body. So many people get hurt while they're working out, and the pain stops them from actually coming back, and sometimes as soon as the very first session. So we're prioritizing your safety and discussing pain first. I'm confident sharing this lesson with you because the last time that I got injured was during 2011 when I actually tweaked my hamstring back when I was playing indoor ball. But since I left the arena and kept training on my own, the way that I'm sharing with you here in Movement Mastery, the worst I've had were maybe some minor kinks that just took a few days to actually work themselves out. Now, that doesn't mean that I haven't been sore. There's plenty of times that I've been sore because that is how muscles actually grow and how you can actually maintain your body. And most of the time, I'm at a point where I'm rarely actually getting sore now because I've built up a tolerance for soreness. But there's a big difference between being sore and tight and experiencing a degree of discomfort and being legitimately injured and unable to actually keep going safely. Of course, I want you to actually stay in the best shape possible. And that means that if you're training properly, there will be times that you will be sore, and maybe a lot of times, depending on your personal goals. But being sore isn't the same thing as actually being injured. So instead of seeing soreness as something to be scared of or try to avoid, I urge you to actually see it as a badge of honor. You actually want to be a little sore because that is a sign that you're actually getting gains. It means that you are actually getting after it and you took the actions that are actually leading to your muscle growth. That being said, there are degrees of pain, and too much pain can be a problem. In sports, pain management often starts with ice for short-term pain relief to be able to control the swelling. After that initial 24 to 48 hours, if we're sure nothing is broken, we tend to stop using ice and instead we focus on encouraging blood flow with gentle movements and exercises. This actually accelerates that healing by delivering oxygen and nutrients to the injured area while clearing out damaged cells. But of course, the best thing is to avoid injury altogether. And 95% of the time, people get injured because they're distracted or they're being reckless. And they push themselves until they are actually out of control. And then they actually continue going through the motions anyway, even though their body is giving them signals that it's time to stop. Now, of course, there are accidents, but you really can limit them with correct preparation and by listening to the feedback that your body is giving you, which is why watching all of the essential videos is so important for your safety. We're going to go over some proper form and how you know if you're losing control. And we're also going to go over joint development and how to build strength in your joints. But right now, we just want you to know about the degrees of effort and pain and the signs that you're actually losing control and the two types of pain so that you understand the basics of dealing with them. So please go to page 95 in your playbook where you can actually take some quick notes. Remember to pause the video if you need more time to fill in the spaces that we're showing. The first thing that we're going to discuss is the degrees of effort and pain. And you can see the circles with your comfort zone in the middle. And the further outside that we get, we're numbering those spots 1 to 5. The first degree is when you're actually going through the motions without effort. And we'll talk more about this later because it's incredibly important for safety and warming up. But basically, it's just what it sounds like. This is when you actually go through the motions intentionally without any real effort. So for example, if you're preparing to squat, you would actually take the empty bar like you're seeing here, and you would actually practice that form with no weight on it. The second degree is when you're actually giving some effort. This means that you're gradually increasing the intensity. So back to our example of squatting. You would put a small and manageable amount of weight on the bar, and you might repeat that a couple of times, depending on how many sets and repetitions you're planning on doing. The third degree is when you're giving full effort. And very importantly, you're still in control. So with my example, I would increase the weight on the bar so that I'm more challenged. The fourth degree is when you're losing control. And this is where you actually start to put yourself at risk. Lots of things can happen that are warning signs that you're losing control. On page 95, jump over here to the right side because I want you to write a list of these signs that you're losing control. One thing that can happen is your grip could be slipping, or your balance and coordination might be off. Another is your joints might be buckling. You could get lightheaded. You notice that you're straining. You can feel that you're fighting the weight or the motion that you're doing. You could even be holding your breath. And in each of these examples, the problem is your body is being compromised and it's not in optimal position anymore. And the fifth degree is when you're recklessly out of control. Here, you're redlining, but you continue to actually ignore your system and that it's been compromised because of any number of things. You're letting someone get your goat, meaning like taunt you, or you feel like you need to prove something, or you're impatient for maybe those particular results that you want. So despite all of the signs that your body is giving you and telling you that those things are increasingly dangerous for you, you just keep on going. Now, especially if you're training by yourself or without someone to spot you, the place you want to stay away from is the fourth and fifth degrees, because that's where you're actually losing command of the movement. And the further that you get away from that, the more likely that things can actually become reckless and you can get injured. And this is why we put the check box here for you. Please put a check in the box acknowledging that you understand that when you're testing your limits, you should ask someone to be able to spot you. Safety first. The place that you want to be when you're actually training is in the first, second, and third degrees, because that's where you're actually moving with various degrees of effort and you're still in control. You're gradually increasing the intensity from minimal effort to more effort to full effort. And if you've ever heard people suggesting that you train until the point of failure, that's what we mean by the third degree. That is where it gets very challenging, so you can actually maximize your growth potential, but you're not yet at the point of losing control, so you don't risk injuring yourself. And during your training sessions, you will want to warm up with the moves in the dynamics library so you can actually get your joints moving and your blood flowing every time. This means that your heart is going to beat progressively faster. Your breathing speed will actually increase. Your body temperature is actually going to rise. All of those are signs that you're training. And honestly, every day is going to be different. Lots of factors impact your readiness on any given day, like your stress levels, the amount of sleep that you got, if you drank enough water, whether you're actually nourished with proper food, and also how effectively you warmed up, and not to mention the attitude that you bring. So understand that when those things aren't dialed in properly, any of those can actually feel like pain or discomfort. But another way that you can actually see this is it's effort, which leads me into clarifying what the two types of pain are. So now let's move to the bottom of the page and talk about the two types of pain and fill in the table that you see here. We're going to cover the noticeable characteristics, what the alerts mean, and how to deal with it. For type number 1, the noticeable characteristics are tight, uncomfortable, persistent, and extended. When this happens, often it's just muscle soreness, and it could be lightly sore or heavily sore. Typically, this alert means that you need to warm up and gradually increase intensity. So the way that you can actually deal with this is by doing gentle dynamics so that you can actually see where today's second and third degrees are. Just because you lifted a certain amount of weight last week does not guarantee that you're automatically going to be able to lift that same exact amount of weight today. As I mentioned in the power to feel, listening to yourself is a must to be able to get better and better. For type number 2, the noticeable characteristics are sudden, sharp shooting pain. This means you need to be aware of the possibility of injury and avoid danger. So the way that you deal with it is like this. The very first step that you do is stop. Just stop. So if you're running, you slow down and you stop running. If you're lifting, you stop lifting and you actually put the weight down. You don't just push through it, trying to finish your set, because that's how you actually rapidly get reckless and risk that injury. The second thing that you do after you stop is you check that you're okay. And then the third thing you do is you reevaluate. Depending on the information that your body is giving you, you might be able to try again. So you could reset. When we say reset, we mean you take a moment and you have a short break to be able to regroup. And after that, you try giving another shot with less weight or intensity. And the whole point is to take your time, stay in control, and avoid being reckless. So if you're getting another sign that it's just too much, no big deal. You simply adjust today's plan so that you're able to stay safely in the first, second, and third degrees of effort. As always, the goal is for you to actually finish your training session feeling good so that you can actually enjoy coming back to training again tomorrow.